Hi everybody, my name is Scott McTiernan. This is my wife Kelly, and we are so tickled to be here and share with you guys about the message of security. Okay, so first of all, we got quite a bit of introduction there. We got a lot more than I thought. And to keep me on track, because I can oftentimes take a whole lot of little bunny trails here and there, especially when it comes to something that I am so passionate about, and that's security. I've got my helper here, and she reels me in and keeps me online and keeps me into my notes and has a whole lot to add to a lot of this because she lives with me and I practice with her, and it's as far as the security moves and things. The other night, just last night it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Just last night I was showing her just some leverage type Systema moves, and she tried it on me, and I was like very not using full strength. She threw me into the counter, and I got a big welt on my head right here. So she's learning quickly. She really is. So I really love my helper, that's for sure. We started out talking just a little bit about my background, and I want to talk just a little bit more about that. I don't want to talk in a haughty or prideful way, but I just want to give some background to what we're here and what we're all about. I was raised in Southwest Colorado. Southwest Colorado is a very mountainous region between what you would call Durango, or 100 miles north of Durango, and 100 miles south of Grand Junction in the San Juan Mountains. We had a ranch there. It was called the San Juan Guest Ranch. I ran this guest ranch for 32 years. And with that, I had 60 head of horses. I had a full-service guide and outfitting trip. I spent a lot of time as an EMT. I was 14 years as an EMT, and I volunteered for mountain rescue. I was a ski instructor in the wintertime, so I was out all the time in the elements. I was teaching people in the outdoors, and a lot of that was extended pack trips with horses. We'd take into the backcountry for my hunting trips, for my day-long rides, and lots of things. So what I'm trying to say here is I've had a lot of experience in camping. I've probably spent more time in a sleeping bag than any 5 of you. I've spent so many years in a camp, in the woods, preparing and getting ready for all the people that would come in. Now, the difference would be is that I didn't have the luxury of telling the good old boy who was next to me, just cowboy up. They were paying a lot of money for me to do that, so I had to prepare to the hilt to make this look fun and exciting, and so that they would pay their bill at the end of the week. So
make it look fun.
Yeah, because it was a lot of work. So we moved here 5 years ago, and in the process, I'm like, I'm not going to get into my testimony of how God moved me here, but I was 5 miles from the nearest pavement, and we ended up here where it's all pavement. And I was wondering what in the world the Lord would set me here for. And through all of this, I'm beginning to understand, to tell folks about how to prepare in the outdoors, how to prepare with all sorts of different elements that you might not be as used to as I am. So this preparedness thing fit right into my pocket of life. All right? Now I get here and I'm kind of displaced, I felt like. And fortunately, I was asked to join a security team, because part of being a guide and outfitter is I work with guns quite a bit. And I love weapons. That's part of my pastime. I'm not a freak. I just enjoy that. And with this, they invited me to come into a security team, and I got trained by some real pros in lots of tactical and military type of moves, and got to shoot a lot and had self-defense and all these different things. And it has brought me full circle back into a joy of being in all this concrete. And it's really been a lot of fun to be able to share with you what we've come up with now in security. How are we doing here, Kelly? Good. Good? We are both licensed ham radio operators. Yeah. How many of you are hammers? Got any hammers? You guys, this is going to be the communication in the crisis. It is not a difficult thing to do. It's not, let's don't get off on that one, okay? Let's keep going here, all right? We're both CERT certified. Thank you, Fulton. It's not here, okay? Thank you, Fulton. We also did the trainers part of that, so we are qualified to train also those. And we both worked with CRI, Crisis Relief International. Now, I put together a lot of things as far as preparation in the mountains and on the wilderness and out in the woods with lots of different people. But you know what? Unlike our buddy here, Dr. Williams, okay, I have not been to many crises, But with CRY, I was able to go to Haiti, and we helped with a strike team into Haiti. We were there the third day we were there, and we set up a whole organization to work with CRY on that. And then also Gustav. Now I've gotten to see real disaster. Okay, I thought my camps were a disaster until I saw Haiti. Then Haiti was a real disaster. And so we're applying a lot of this with the experience that we gained with that too. Okay.
Now it's my turn to talk.
Yeah, it is. Go ahead, Kelly.
So we came here 5 years ago, Scott said, with all this experience behind mostly his belt. We've been married for 12 years, so when I joined Scott at the ranch, I was pretty excited at the idea of helping him run this guest ranch, because I'd always thought it would be really great to run a bed and breakfast. How many of you have ever had that dream? Just thought it'd be so fun. Well, I got over it real quick. It was a lot of work. Now, of course, cooking for planning meals, buying groceries, doing all of the organizing and ordering in the kitchen, overseeing the kitchen staff, and cooking for 50 people, 3 meals a day, all summer long, was a little more than
my do it all fall too.
My idea. Yeah, then we went into fall, not for 50 people, but we would go all the way into fall with the hunters that came, and we had to prepare meals that could be prepared up in the mountains over open fire and that sort of thing. So it was definitely experience that I had no idea would actually be put to use someday, and especially in the form of personal preparedness to survive through a crisis time. Anyway, so in that time coming here with all that experience, finding out that how we might actually be able to do something with this, that idea came as a revelation after we spent some time with a group of friends that we have hanging out on Sunday nights, fellowshipping and watching this corny television series called Jericho. Anybody watch it? Jonathan's back there waving his hand. So it was this really corny, cheesy television program. It only even lasted a season and a half. It was kind of, that bad. But we got hooked in mostly because we brought really good heavy hors d'oeuvres to watch it around, and just had a really good time. And we were watching it on CD form, so we got to bypass all the commercials, and we could actually get through 2 or 3 episodes, maybe even 4 episodes in a night. In a couple hours time. So we were able to get through the season and a half fairly quickly. And at the end of it, we came away going, you know what? This, although it was cheesy, really did kind of spur something on in us that if we were to have any sort of a crisis like this program was around, and I'm sorry I didn't mention what it was, the program was about this little town called Jericho, Kansas, and the community there that survived, or how they survived an EMP attack on the United States. Everything from having no idea what had happened, why they didn't have any power, to no communications until they found somebody who was a ham radio operator.
That's right, found a ham radio.
Filling up the bathtubs with water before all the water wells ran dry and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, just at the end of it, we were like, maybe we should apply some of this and start taking this kind of serious and spreading the word a little bit. So we kind of put the word out to others who we knew were like-minded in the had a preparedness mindset. And real quickly that summer, our group grew from about 10 people to about 35 people. And we just started coming together and meeting and networking and finding out what different strengths different ones of us had. I mean, there was, guys who were totally into solar power, and there was a family who was growing tilapia in their backyard, and master gardeners, and somebody who was totally into heirloom seeds, and just all different sorts of preparedness topics that we all found really interesting, and we were able to learn off of each other. So that's really the passion that we come with tonight has spawned out of that little, what has turned out to be our small group. Now, the 35 kind of broke up and went and started their own small group. So our original small group still remains of the 5 families that we have and the kids that are all involved. So I think we have 7, 9, 19 of us in our small group, including the children. And we decided that we would keep that group kind of at that size so that we could grow in intimacy and friendship and relationship with each other. Because just as, I don't remember if it was Dr. Williams or Terry that was talking about covenant community is really, really important. And we are finding that that's really, that is so key to pretty much everything we're going to talk about tonight. So anyway, just wanted to give you a little bit of background. As you hear us refer to our small group, that's how it was birthed.
Okay, want to give the goal?
Go ahead.
Our goal, gang. Our goal in this session is to give you a greater understanding of what security really is and a clear direction on how to better prepare yourself in the areas of security. Now, I may dislodge some of the fantasies, especially us guys have, about what security is. Because it is a false security to think you have a closet full of ARs and tactical shotguns and ammo is not security. That's fun. That's just recreation. That's you will be sorely disappointed in a crisis if you're basing your security on weapons. Okay, now I want to make that clear right on the front, and I'm going to prove it to you as we move through this session.
Next slide, please.
Here we are. All right. In doing so, now let me preface that last statement just a little bit, because it's really easy when I are one. I was one of those guys that thought a closet full of guns was the way to security. And whether or not I could use them very well, I had no idea how little I knew how to use them until I started getting some tactical combat training with a weapon. So it was really important that it broke my paradigm right there. But as I study and as I look and as I read these different things about preparedness, and living it with our small group, it's really come apparent to just how important it is to understand security. And security, here's what we're getting to. Security, by definition, is something I want to look at. Okay? So let's take good old Webster and let's start with what the definition of security is. All right, we'll write through it real quick. Freedom from danger, from risk, etc. Safety. Freedom from care, anxiety, doubt. Well-founded confidence. I like that one. Well-founded confidence. Think about that a second. Then we've got measures taken to guard against attacks. Assurance and guaranteed is a little cut off on the bottom there. See that? Assurance and guaranteed. All right. Now, like I said before, Webster even thinks that a closet full of guns is not the description or definition of security. So it's important that we break this paradigm. Now, I think there's a place for self-defense. I think there is, and we'll work that in. But right now, we want to just first of all get started right here. Danger and risk. We talk about danger and risk. What is the danger and risk in preparedness? Well, one of the biggest dangers that you can run into in preparedness is division. Division in your team, division in your family, division in the home that you're in. Division can tear you apart quicker than any terrorist attack. I guarantee you, division is high on the importance of what you need to create in your home group and small. Okay, another thing, real obvious, the one that I thought of first, was you lose your resource. Okay? That could be a real danger. It could be a real risk. If you don't have security, you lose your resource. Your resources being what you've got stored, what you might have backed up, all those things. We're going to address that somewhat. Okay? Now, fear, anxiety, and doubt. How would you correct those? Right? How do you become feeling secure about those? By executing a good security plan. That's what's going to really put you in a place where you don't feel all the anxiety, doubt, and fear. Now, this one I like. Well-founded confidence. Well-founded confidence. I can't help but, in my simple mind, I can't help but think well-founded confidence. I think well-rounded confidence. And really it fits really well there, a little play on words, because if you have a well-rounded preparedness plan, okay, with every cycle, with your medical, with your food, with your water, with every aspect of your security, of your preparedness, then you're going to feel secure. Sorry. Okay? Effective security. Is that down there? No, okay. Write this down, please. Effective security comes from careful planning, clear communication, execution, and training. Okay? You know, the training part of this is so important, and I'll reflect back to how many times as an outfitter, and as I actually I'm still a licensed outfitter in the state of Colorado. And an outfitter, for those of you who don't know, take people out professionally and go hunting. We hunted deer and elk. And we would pack in on horses, have the tent city and everything else. I was around guys with rifles all the time, okay? And I can't tell you how many times guys will say, well, do you know how to shoot? Well, yeah, sure, I've shot a couple times, yeah. Or even if they were in the military and it was 25, 30 years ago, they haven't developed that skill and brought that forward. And that is as important as any of this, any tool that you ever get. I mean, you can get new software on your computer, and if you're not using it, know how to use it, it's not any good. That's very important, that you get the training. The training. You oftentimes hear this same type of analogy. You hear it from the 16-year-old who just got their driver's license, and you ask him, do you know how to drive? Oh, yeah, I know how to drive. I drive all the time. They've probably driven 3 years or 3 days in their lives. They don't have the experience. They don't have the knowledge. They don't know the wherewithal, especially to put up in any kind of a crisis situation. So those are important things that go on there.
And that's just one of the points we really wanted to make from this was that that having a plan within your family and or your team for security so that you know you've got all bases covered will bring you a lot more feeling of security, peace of mind, and stress-free or anxiety-free lifestyle in the midst of crisis. And that's, you want to be thinking about that on the front end of things, not in the middle of the crisis.
Next slide.
So we're going to talk about solo versus team.
Do we need next slide?
Oh, next slide, please.
There we go. Okay, solo versus team. As we started thinking about this, we're thinking about lots of names for solo versus teams. And the solo part, the one I come up with the most is Rambo. Okay, it's the Rambo versus team effort. Okay, the team effort. Now let me explain first of all what team really means. Now it doesn't have to be anything big. Team could be your family. Okay, your family at home. A team could be those like our team is the 5 couples that get together and we're a team for our security, for ourselves, as well as the group dynamic of that, which could expand easily into community. Okay? So then what I'm going to do here is I want to list some pros and cons of the effectiveness and the importance of being solo or a team in all of this. We take the very top one there. We take solitary confinement. I stumbled on this solitary confinement. I'm not even sure how, but solitary confinement. Solitary confinement is what you put yourself in if you try to be a Rambo. And in our prisons circuit, in our prisons, that is the highest form of punishment that you can have. So why would you volunteer to be in solitary confinement? You don't want to be out there. Now, there's other reasons why you don't want to do that, but it's important to understand that the solo act is, in any of this, actually, in preparedness, it's important that you work as a team for all the reasons we're going to be listing here as we go. Okay? The next one is that solo, you're limiting your resources. I mean, and you're limiting your strength. You're limiting, I'm looking by you there, Ben, limiting your support, your safety, your vulnerability, okay? And your doubt. Okay? You don't have any support with that. You look on the other side here, you don't have any accountability. You don't have the safety in numbers. You don't have the spiritual support in that. I can't tell you how important it is for those that are in that. My wife is one of them who encourages me all the time to quit oiling my gun and put oil in my spirit from the Lord, okay, is to get into that Bible and to understand the Word and understand what He's going to be doing with us. It is so important. It really is.
I just want to make a point on that, and we'll refer back to our team. Again, we kind of got our ball rolling in the context of team right off the bat, but we have met a lot of people who have really great preparedness, stash, they've got it going on, but they don't have a team that they're working with. And just discussing with them and sharing, as most of us preppers do, and you get into conversation with somebody else that's like-minded, it's fun to talk about what what kind of food you're storing away and how you're storing your water and this and that. And so in doing that with somebody who doesn't have a team, it's really evident that they're missing the confidence of of when it all really does hit, you know, you can see that there's that fear lurking in the back of their mind, like, am I going to be able to do this on my own? And some of the things that we've just experienced as a benefit, besides those that are listed, or just kind of to break that down a little bit more, as far as the relationship and community, we have grown so much with this small group of these friends in the couple of years that we've been doing this. Our relationship has really gelled. We do not just spend our time together around or focused on preparedness. We meet once a week and for 3 hours, and half of our time is spent in Bible study and prayer. And the other half we spend on sharing our prep tips and or latest, you know, group buys or our proposals for whatever equipment we want to buy next as a team. And that, again, is another benefit, is being able to do group buying together and spreading out the expense, because as you all know, it can be expensive to be really getting prepared. And so we've shared some of the heavier expensive items together and buying them as a group, canning equipment and what else have we? Oh, a wheat grinder that we've bought together, and we've
bought barrels and water stuff, and
yeah,
all kinds of things.
And just work together. We've had work days together, and you know, it's just really different in doing it together as a team and having each other for accountability, because there's been a lot of times we've come together and asked, okay, who did their homework last week, and we all kind of sit around and look at each other and able to scold each other and encourage each other on and move on, and you know, and hold each other accountable for the task for the next, getting it done for the next week or by a certain timeline. So there are some great advantages to doing this with a team.
Right, and I want to clarify something here real quick, because I don't want you to get off and think that you've got to do this as a team, every purchase, everything that you do. As an individual in your own home, you set yourself up. But the point is, you get yourself all prepared as an individual, as a family, as a group, right there, under your own roof. Okay, everything is ready. Then from there, you join in a team. So it's part of our requirement in our team that we all have a 3-month supply of everything that we need. Okay, 3 months. We're going to up that, but that's what we're at right now. Now, that supply is not just for the individual, but what would hold in their home. We're going to talk about the capacity of homes here in just a minute. But that's really an important factor. There was something else going.
Yeah, there's another important point, and that is making sure that as you're making your security plan, whether it's, you know, just like if you're individuals, you're not a part of a team, you have a security plan that you're putting in force, you need to make sure that your spouse or your children know what that plan is clearly, or when it's all coming down, you're going to have major chaos. So that's especially true in your team or your group setting, is that you want to make sure that you're arriving at your security plan together, that there's not just
group decision.
One, the leader or the leader and the co-leader are not the ones that are making all the decisions, but the whole team is giving their input, sharing how they feel, because there's a lot of theological debates or issues that you're going to have to, you know, deal with, a lot of the hard questions, you know, when you use firearms and when you don't, and who's yeah, I'll refrain from some of the debates that we've gotten into. But as you start discussing this amongst your family or your friends, you're going to realize that you know, some people come to the table with different ideas about their little dog. You know, so right. You know, and what happens to the little dog when there's no more food, that kind of thing. So, anyways, going from one extreme to the next, you know, we like felt like we really needed to talk about all the hard things together and decide on those decisions together. So it's important to do that as a whole team. Everybody's input is valuable.
Just to touch on that just a little bit, the value, and that's what's down in the right-hand corner there, is that what she's talking about with the puppies or whatever it might be, with the firearms, methods of use, it could be as simple as, when do we start rationing? How much water do we have? There's lots of questions that have to be answered, hard questions that have to be answered in a crisis situation. Now, how do you go about doing that? I'm the boss and you do as I say? That doesn't fly in a group, okay? Especially under stress. It has to be done beforehand, and it's the same with security. This all ties in with security, you guys. I know it sounds like, well, when are we going to talk about guns? This all ties into that, because we've got to come to an understanding. We've got to come to an understanding of what we're going to do with the weapons and who dictates what we're going to do with that. The guy that's got the weapon, he's going to create your security plan? No. You're going to do that together as a team. And that's the value of having a team, is you have a decision-making process that you can go through, taking the ideas from one great person, from another great person, and another great person to create a plan for your team that you all are involved in. And when that happens, then you have the unity. You have the covenant that we're talking about in your team. You have the trust in your team. Because we figured out real quick that we can't go solo. So we need to figure this one out. And especially when it involves security, okay?
One of the things that we've realized in the last couple of years of growing in our small group is that, excuse me, is that there are a lot of people that are concerned. They have ears to hear. They're seeing the headline news. They're, their sale is up, and they're listening to the prophetic words, and so they're like-minded and they're interested in preparedness, but they don't have a group to run with, and they don't have family that understands. And we found that we're passionate about getting them plugged in with or running with somebody else who could share their interests and understand where they were coming from. But we also realized we couldn't start just, adding to our group by the droves of everyone who wanted to join, because again, we feel like that the intimate relationship is really the glue that holds the team together, especially when the crisis is hitting. So that is one of the things that really motivated us to start what Reagan referred to, and that is the prep rallies that we're hosting for our community. And we just started at the first of the year because it seems like since late fall or the first of the year, this whole preparedness thing has kind of started exploding, and people seem to be coming out of the woodwork now, interested in it. And everybody wants to know, where do I start? How do I start? What's the first thing I do? And it's overwhelming if you try to answer all those questions on a day-by-day basis, individual by individual. It's just exhausting. And so we realized we needed to start pulling all this information together and giving it at one time to a lot of people. And so we picked a place and picked a time and started a website and invited people to start rallying around to network and share resources, share their personal interests, their ideas, and from that, a lot of people started connecting. We kind of mapped out the region and the general area that we're from, broke it up into regions so people could come and say, hey, I live in this area, and then we would break up the room and have people meet in those areas so that they could get to know each other. Some of them, a couple of the groups that have started, several people lived on the same street and didn't even know it until they joined in to the prep rallies. So we're really excited about that, and we're very passionate about that because we realize that if we don't get our community ready, when crisis really hits and they know we're prepared, we're the ones that are going to really be in trouble. So we're very passionate about getting as much of our community and neighbors ready as possible so that, so one, that they're self-sustaining, but two, that they also have small groups of community that they can be drawing to. Because clearly, we cannot, take everybody in that we would like to. Our house is only so big, and when it's all coming down, we're not going to be able to say yes to everybody that wants to come in. We're going to have to say no at a certain point. So the prep rallies have kind of helped us express some of this passion, and it's been a really valuable thing for our community.
Okay, next slide, please. All right, you ready? Let's start creating your safe house or home. In security, they talk about assessing a lot. And the term that's used is assessing your threat. All right? So let's assess our threat. Now, that can be taken a lot of different ways, but I want to apply it right here. First, by understanding, what are we going to protect? What is our primary thing that we want to protect? Right there states it, what to protect. The family, or the team I refer to, which could be simply an extended family, or the family itself. It could be just you and your wife, you're a team. Okay? That is really important. Now, how do you protect it? How do you protect that part of it? Most of it is with the plan, and there's got to be plans in place for your security. And we talk plan. It is difficult to get started getting these plans done. Now, Dr. Paul Williams has got a great book. He's got lots of lists. He's got lots of things there that really will help you and accelerate you through a lot of these plans. But the plan then, once you've got the plan, then you've got to communicate the plan. It's no good with good old Bubba sitting on the couch by himself having a plan in his mind if he hasn't communicated it with the rest of the team or the rest of the family. There is huge benefit in the communication of the plan. And then the practice and the practical training of that definite plan. You're only part way there once you get the plan developed. That's great to walk around with a plan in your hand or in your head. But if you don't share it with others, then that plan is pretty much dead on the ground. Okay? That's important. Practicing the plan. Training and equipping. You want to talk about that, Kelly?
Well,
You've been kind
this goes back to our small group. We have made it a real point to train together in all different areas that we've been able to. And shortly after we got started, most of the guys in our group ended up purchasing a firearm of some sort if they didn't already own one. I say most of them. A couple of them had to purchase because the others all did own firearms. And in our conversation about having firearms in the home, us wives all realized that if crisis came down and our husbands weren't there with the guns, or the husbands weren't there and the guns were, it wasn't going to do us much good if we didn't know how to use them. And so we decided that we would make it a group effort and start training together in showing all of us wives how to use the firearms, and even some of the older kids. And so we've made a few trips out to the gun range and have actually learned about using the guns, what kind they are, how to load them, what kind of ammunition goes with what kind of gun, and target practicing. And it's been very educating. Really just taking the time to do that has removed a ton of fear that several of us had. And it was just very valuable, a very valuable time. We've also done the same thing in just some of the more general practical things. As I mentioned, that we group purchased a wheat grinder together. We had a training weekend about a month ago. We all got together and decided that we would spend 24 hours together with no power, no water, and no phones.
No power, no phones, yeah.
No water, no power. And we would all bring together all the things that we had been investing in, whether it was food that we'd purchased that we had not tried out yet, or it was equipment that we had purchased. Whatever the case may be, if we'd purchased it and had not tried it or practiced with it, then we had to bring it that weekend and try to use it in the midst of no power and running water. So it was extremely educating for all of us. We learned how prepared we weren't, and how difficult things really can be to do without power and running water if you aren't prepared in your mind and you haven't practiced it. We all brought a gallon of water per person and combined it so that we could see how much water we actually went through and how much we could conserve. We learned a lot of things. We did security practice together. We drew names out of a hat to see who had to work which shift, and starting at 10 o'clock that night, the couples each took a 2-hour shift through the middle of the night to stay up and patrol the property, and actually had to get out in the car and drive around to all the other houses because all the people had come to stay at our house. We had decided that our house would be, our home would be the safe house for our team in the event that we ever have to come together and sleep under the same roof. Then our house is that designated house. We tried the wheat grinder together for the first time. That was hilarious. I had flour all over the kitchen. We used the generator on a schedule like we decided the schedule that we had made up so that we could actually keep our food that was in our refrigerator and freezer from thawing. What else? Oh, we all put on our grab-and-go bags. I so appreciated what Dr. Williams was saying this morning about you really need to make sure your grab-and-go bag isn't more than a quarter of your body weight and that you can carry it. And I managed to get from my kitchen to the driveway and literally said, I can't carry this anymore. And I had to take it off, walk back into the garage and get my little farmer's market cart and throw my backpack in there. And our plan was to walk 1.5 miles to the Shiloh Lake that's not far from us, and with our backpacks on. And so I got to pull mine in a cart. My kids were mortified. They said I looked like a homeless person. But anyway, I learned a lot, that I either have to get a bigger, better pack, or I have to lighten it up a lot. And
I think wheels are the answer there.
yeah, I do too. We also, everybody brought their different water filters, because we've all purchased water filters or purifiers of some sort. So if they were the stationary kind for at the house or in the kitchen, you know, some of those nice stainless steel Berkeys, which we have one, or the portable Katadines, or, you know, the straws, everybody had all different kinds. And so there was about at least 10 different kinds of water filters that we were all trying, some of us trying them out for the first time. And so we went to Shiloh and we got down in the water and actually filled up some of the water filters, learning that some of them need to be primed before then. I actually tried my straw and got down in the lake water and started sucking the water through it, and all this black stuff started coming up, and I was totally convinced this was a scam. But went back and read the directions that said,
After we read the directions.
You need to do this first and prime it and get the charcoal stuff out of there. So, but something else I learned is that I was really afraid to drink water, and I got dehydrated by the end of the night. My legs started cramping up, and I got a terrible headache because I hadn't drinking water all day because I was scared. I mean, I saw the water. We were using water out of our rain barrels, and it was green, slimy stuff that we were pouring into the Berkeys so we could try it. Came out, you know, looking crystal clear.
Tasted great.
Tasted great for all of those who tasted it, but I was scared to try it. I mean, that just really showed me, you know, at the end of our 24-hour practice weekend, that I needed to really, we all needed to really invest more time and actual practical using of the things that we're investing in, because they are going to be life-saving for us. So anyway, all that's shared to say that, again, the value of a team and using the equipment that you have and training around it is very, very important.
Well, I think that's where the accountability from the team really comes from, is that once you get started in working with a team, you'll start talking about doing the things you really don't want to do. Okay? You drive each other to that accountability part of it, to where you get some medical training and you get to using those different filters and all the different gadgets that you got piled in the corner and you think you're all prepared for. It's time to get the wrapping off of it and use it. Okay, it's really important there. Okay, we're going to move on here just a little bit. How do you protect? Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we're going to protect some of the supplies, some of the storage stuff, and some of the things in your home. How are we going to secure that stuff? It's important that we get some kind of a plan for that. Now there are a couple different ideas I want you to play around with, and that is a decoy stash. Okay? The decoy stash of stuff that you might have in the kitchen or somewhere that you're willing to forfeit in a theft, say, for instance, or in a martial law came around, that would be the first thing they see. Okay? So that's a really good way. Another one is you guys with these storage rooms and stuff, and I know you're handier than you think. If not, hire somebody that's handier than they think. Put in a disappearing door. I mean, I'm serious. They're not that hard to put in. They pivot from the center. We're working on one right now. And it's just something that could really help clinch the fact that as people are moving through your home and whatever, that they don't see your, like Terry was saying, 6,000 pounds of flour. That could be a suspicious or maybe a key to the fact you're a prepper and have stuff I want. All right, so those are really good to decoy those kind of things. Now, as you're decoying things, I want you to think about what's in your home, sitting on your counter. All right, can you imagine walking into somebody's home and seeing that $1,200 grinder there? That would be a pretty much a tip-off to the fact that they have got a lot of stuff going on. Right, is to keep this stuff in places where it's not always obvious. That's just good security. What do they call that? They call that situational awareness. Is that what is going on in your home, in the little things that you might have stored, the little key things that you might have laying around. It is not a good idea in a security mode to let everyone you know how much you've got. It's just not good sense. It's like my dad saying about, don't tell everybody how much money you make. I mean, just keep that kind of low. Keep that kind of down. I got to move on here. I'm getting a little bit, okay. Hidden stuff, camouflage stuff. Get things put away to where you can really, it's not noticeable to those who come in.
I have a great story I want to interject here about a great way that Scott has camouflaged our generator.
Oh, yeah. That is good.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
And he, when we moved into the house that we have, there was this one of those big plastic dog houses in the backyard, and we didn't have a dog, but the dog house remained back there. So when he came home with our generator last year,
2 years.
2 years ago, we decided we would, keep it in the backyard because we have it actually hooked up into the house through a transfer switch?
Yeah, transfer switch, that's
transfer
right.
switch. And so it kind of needs to remain right there where the cord goes into the house. So lo and behold, this generator just happens to be the exact size of the inside of this dog house. So he popped the lid off, puts the generator inside of it, cuts some holes out of the bottom so that the wheels that are in the generator fit right down inside of it. Pops the lid back on. I mean, it's completely disguised. You walk back in our backyard and it just looks like we have this empty doghouse back there. So as far as somebody just kind of prowling around the house or looking, unless they hear it running, and the doghouse itself even kind of camouflages some of the noise a little bit, but it's a great way to do just what Scott's talking about and kind of keeping hidden some of your stuff.
I probably ought to patent that, hadn't I? Yeah, I did. Okay. All right, where are we at here?
About this. In the event that
yeah.
martial law is imposed, as our situation is right now, we have everything down in one large storage closet, and if they demanded our stuff, they'd get the whole 9 yards of it. And so we decided that it would be really a good idea for us to create a false wall with some shelves and make it look like the storage closet only goes so far. Pull some of the stuff out, some of the beans and the rice and maybe, a few gallons of water, so that if they were demanding stuff, they're only going to get that much. They're not going to get everything else. Now, this might be one of those theological issues that some of you have, and this will be one of those things that you have to decide upon yourself or with your team, is if martial law is imposed, do you comply, do you submit, or do you still have and keep a remain hidden stash?
Okay, and we talked about dispersing some of the stuff. Don't have it all in one spot. Having your storage stuff in different spots is just common sense, good idea. Okay?
So even if you're not able to hide it or camouflage it, just putting it in different places. And it doesn't, under the bed makes a great spot for, a lot of things. Number 10 cans fit great underneath the bed. And right here.
Okay. Protecting your home, or protecting your home from a threat, it is entirely based on what the threat is. I mean, I don't mean to make that sound oversimplified, but it really, the process of planning for a threat against your home depends on the threat. You need to assess the threat. You have natural types of threats, which are like your hurricanes, if you're in that region, your tornadoes, if you're in that region, or if you have flooding or different things like that. That's that type of threat. You can have the threat from chemical, biological, which you need to set up and prepare for in a different way than you would if it was for the a flooding. Okay, so it's important that you have different aspects of the different types of threats. There's also the obvious threat of an intruder. And unfortunately, we think too much about what we're going to do about an intruder when there are lots of other threats that we need to be thinking about too. The intruder is one aspect, and what you're going to do with that. And like Kelly was talking about, with as far as your team and as far as your group is concerned, it's really important that you have your decision-making process in order so that your whole team can come together and ask, what are we going to do about an intruder? I am not here to try to tell you what to do with that intruder. I'm giving you different ideas. You can use all types of methods for that. You can run away. You can leave it all for them. You can defend yourself with pepper spray. You can use wasp spray. There are all sorts of different ways to defend yourself. There are the martial arts. There's boxing. There's all types of things. There's your dogs. There's all kinds of ways that you can defend yourself that doesn't necessarily take a firearm or a lethal threat. Okay? All right, moving right on.
Okay, next slide, please.
What's our time like?
We have...
Ooh.
We're doing good.
Okay.
Next slide. Thanks.
All right, this is kind of a busy slide, okay, because there's a lot of information on there, okay? And it's important that what we're trying to do here is we talked a little bit about how to disguise and do some different things there. Now I want to talk about what you can actually do to fortify your strong fortress. what you can do to really come about and getting some different things done in your house that will make you safer, more secure. Okay, going back to the definition, it's important that we keep that definition in mind. Now, it's something I want to bring up right here and right now, is that I do not want anyone in this room to do any of this based in fear. That's just the wrong concept. It's just not the way you want to approach any part of preparedness, is out of fear. Because if you're fear motivated, it's not, the outcome is not of the Lord. The Lord is not of fear. Okay? So it's important that you keep fear out of this. Now, a couple things that are really important is that you cannot get your home, well, you could, let me correct. With a reasonable amount of money, you cannot harden your house to an impenetrable type of fortress that you don't have to worry about any type of security. Okay? There's just really no way feasibly to do that. Now, your home can get a whole lot more secure with a few simple things that we're going to be talking about here, and I want to make sure you come away with tools for that. But you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars hardening your home, I'm going to say, that is still, you're going to have, your home is no more secure than your weakest link. And your weakest link could be your picture window in the living room, that all you got to do is throw a chair through, and you've got this, here, just take this word picture. You've got this steel core door with 4 deadbolts on it, okay, and a big lock and a Katie bar on it, okay? But next to it, right over here, you've got a 10-foot picture window with storm glass on it. Right? I mean, you've got this huge fortress right here that is going to really stop somebody, there's no doubt. But the alternative right next to it is the window. It's easily broken out and entry made. Okay? So to have an all-around plan where you strengthen your doors, you strengthen your windows, you strengthen your exits, you strengthen every one of those to a level you can afford, gives you far more security and confidence than will putting $10,000 in a front door. I don't want you to go out and just splurge on one thing. Okay.
We're going to show you a little video clip.
Oh, yeah, because I couldn't bring my door. Okay, I was going to put a door in here and kick it in, but we decided we'd just do it with a video. All right, so watch this.
This is just a little news clip, if you wouldn't mind showing this. Okay.
Come on. What does it say?
It says an error occurred.
Okay, I guess I'm going to have to kick in a door.
John and I even practiced a little while ago, make sure it was all going to come on. That's okay.
I knew I should have brought that door. Kick the podium in.
Yeah, we'll try to do that. Okay, so why don't you talk to him a little bit about
the break-ins.
How easy it is to break in.
All right. One of the things that in my readings and in security, I'm finding out that through talking with actually that policeman that came to one of our neighborhood watch group meetings that we had, this policeman came in and gave us a whole lot of information. One of them was a response time to your emergency 911 call. And this was in good times. This was with no crisis. This was in the house. And he said 20 minutes. 20 minutes? I mean, what are you responding to in 20 minutes? I was kind of shocked with that. The other part of it was that he said that over a third of the break-ins are through unlocked front doors. I mean, how much of a plan can you get to make sure your front door is locked, actually? I mean, why put a lot of investment in that? A third are pried or jimmied open, okay? They're actually jimmied open, which is legit. You're trying to get secured with that. And a quarter are also forced entered by impact. These guys have such an art down of entering a door, a common door, that is incredible. We've had a little run in our neighborhood of some robberies, and they have watched these guys open the door. They check, boom, 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 one guy. The rest of them are in the van. They knock on the door, okay? And what they do is they just simply turn around like this, keeping the screen door open, and just give it a big old boot like that, and it generally pops right open, breaking everything to the inside, so nothing looks disturbed on the outside. They bring in their 8 or 9 guys, take what they want real quick, and are out of there. And it's something that's pretty easily taken care of, guys, by some in your door frame, and this is what I wanted to show in the video, but I'll go ahead and explain it just a little bit, is that in our door frame that you have where the window comes in, it's only about a 3/4 inch board, your board that's in that. Most of the time, your deadbolts and also your striker, where the door comes in and the latch hooks onto, are only put into that one board, which is usually only about an inch thick, and it's not a real quality hardwood. Right? In that it's something very simple that you can do, and you can do this if you don't have side lights on the side of your doors, okay, is that you can take and just back out this inch-long screw and put a 3-inch screw in there. And it will tremendously beef up your door immediately. Now, you can take that strike plate, which generally are only about that long, they come down and have a little hole in it. You can easily buy a strike plate that's 4 or 5 inches large, with several places to put that in. Beefs up your door very quickly. Now, there are a lot more advanced ways to do that. If I can create an awareness in you that you need to beef up your front doors, that would be a goal of mine right now. Okay, so that's good.
Scott hates the fact that both our front door and our back door have, you know, the paned glass in it. I love them because it lets the light in.
Oh, yeah.
They're decorative. They're cute. He hates it. So we're constantly, and we have the big 10-foot plate.
Oh, we've got it.
Window.
No, it's a 15-foot by 8-foot
window in the front living room, and it's we have an older house, you know, so it's one that's got the diamond-shaped panes in it, and it's just really, really pretty. It's beautiful addition to the home, and he hates it. He so wants to get rid of them. I'm like, we are not going to turn this into a prison. So there does come a point where we have to just, you know, really trust that the Lord is going to take care of those places for us, because I know that it matters to the Lord that I want my house to be cute and pretty.
And what matters to her does matter to me too. But how can we correct that with that great big window? What am I going to do? What's my process with that? Okay? How about some plywood? I don't mean put it on now, because that would really that wouldn't work. Okay, but I'm saying if you had some pre-cut plywood, 3/4 inch, and you had it in the garage stacked up neat with, you know, knowing that you could get that on right away, that could help a whole lot in the crisis situation. You're not going to do that every night after you go to bed. Yeah, I'm just talking about something that you can do. Laminating the windows is a big thing that people are doing now. You can take and have laminated windows that are a little less impenetrable. But, okay, this brings up the point too. Why do I not like the window in the door? Because it's real easy to bust out the glass right alongside your lock, reach in, turn the lock, and open it. I mean, it's so easy it's not even funny. It drives me, it bothers me. But here's how you can correct that also, is that you get a double-keyed deadbolt, okay, double key. So it doesn't have the little latch on the inside that turns so easy. You have a key for it too, okay? And then that way you can put that, of course, yeah, okay, never mind. Sometimes I leave the key in it.
We've had our arguments over that. Like, where's the key? I want to get out of the front door so I can get the mail.
Right.
You know, so yeah, those.
Right. These are things you work out in the practical walk of preparedness. And what is so important is that, guys, this preparedness thing we're talking about here, it is no longer an event. This isn't something you're coming to right now, get the stuff and go home and forget about. You've got to develop a preparedness lifestyle. If you're not getting locked into a lifestyle of watching out for each other, of keeping your gas tank over a half, all those little practical tips, then you're losing the point here. Okay? Because the stuff you got stored in the garage is really not going to do you any good unless you're applying it in your lifestyle.
Talk about exits. How
important exits. Exits are really important. They're important so that you can get out in case of fire, in case of that intruder that you don't want to deal with. You want to have an exit for that. It's really important to know your exits, to be able to get out of your exits. If you have an upstairs, okay, you need to get out of those exits. How do you do that? That's with those little ladders that you can throw out. You can tie sheets together. You can Google it and they'll show you 100 different ways to get out of a 2-story building. All right, so it's important that you get that taken care of and put it in your plan. I know it's so overwhelming. How can I plan all this stuff? You take one little segment at a time. So one little segment at a time. My hat is off to Dr. Williams. He helped so much in his book and the list that he had in that. And boy, we ended up having to take 3 days totally and say, this is the only way we're going to get this done. We got to take it off and we got to do it. We marked it off our calendars. We went into that thing and we've expanded a lot on what he had, but it got us motivated for it. And that's what's really key in this.
Those the ladders that he was talking about are also as necessary.
Yes.
Like in our home, we have a full basement that has 5 bedrooms in it, and there are all egress windows in there. And that's something you want to make, of course, very sure that you're doing. If you're having people sleep in your basement, or if any of your family are sleeping in your basement, that there is a way that they can get out of those rooms in the event of a fire. So we have egress windows in each of the bedrooms, but because the window wells are so deep down in from the ground level up above, it's not easy to get out of one of those wells. And so those emergency exit ladders are work for climbing out of the basement, as well as climbing, down out of the second
Especially
story.
for children. Short kids can't get up out of it.
Yep. So, yeah, the next thing we want to talk about is your utility shutoffs. And I'm just curious, from a show of hands, how many, most of you guys know where your emergency utility shutoffs are, but I'm curious about how many women here know where your water main shutoff is, and where your gas shutoff is, and where your electrical panel switch is in your home.
Come on, let's see it. Honest show of hands.
Okay, good.
No, women.
Well, everybody. Okay, let's say this. How many of you don't know where yours are?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So
important aspect. Don't be. This is like what we do in our small groups.
Yeah.
Is that, hey, how many of you don't? Come on, let's go show you, and we get it done. That's the thing. Is if there's one thing we got to do is get motivated to do that. So that's what's great about the small team.
Well, I had to turn on. I mean, just be real vulnerable and transparent here. I had to turn on, search it out on a YouTube or Google thing to find out how to turn the main switch off, or turn the gas off out at the gas thing, because I'd ask him a couple of times, will you show me? Oh yeah, I'll show you. And then it just never happened. And all of a sudden it occurred to me one day, okay, this is stupid that I don't know. And if he's not home and I have to go shut off this gas, I'm going to be so mad at him. And, I mean, it could be a lot more dangerous than that too. So I just Googled it and found, and we were going to show you that little clip too. But anyway, so you can Google it, you can figure it out. I just typed in main gas shut off, and a ton of stuff comes up.
Oh, are things not
there are a
gonna
lot
work?
of people that are passionate about doing instructional videos and showing you things like that. So
That's not going to work.
we could try it if you want to queue up that second video, John, and see if it will work. Yeah, maybe it will. So for the 2 in the audience that don't know, this is just for you. And it's only like 50 seconds
Nope.
long. Okay.
Nope, it doesn't
No, we're
work.
not.
Okay, well, we got to see what you got to turn off anyway. That's important.
It is important. And another thing that kind of always freaked me out as a kid, I hated to go do the fuses in the electrical panel. It scared me, and I don't know, there's probably some kind of scary story around it, but I just always was really afraid. And I have just, like, throughout my life made it a point to, I'll just let Scott do that, or I'll just let somebody else deal with that. And that's just silly. And so when we got our generator hooked up into the house and the transfer switch all hooked in, it was very apparent to me that I needed to know how to make sure all the switches were off on one side and everything was ready to go on the other side before we turned the generator on. And so, again, it's just one of those things. If you've got those kind of little quirks or fears that are keeping you from, finding out what you need to know so that you can be completely safe all the way across the board, we encourage you to Google it and find out the right way to do it.
Windows. Your windows, I don't know how many of you noticed, I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed, but when you're checking out your house, and you can drive by really quickly to see if all your seams line up. Do you know what I'm talking about on your house? Is that you can drive by and make sure that your storm windows and your inside windows are all in the same line. And you can just about check your house for security or being pried or entry by just looking at the lines. Now when I say lines, I mean where your window closes and it meets it halfway, you've got a line there, okay? And if that's up a little bit, you can see it from a half a block away. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but be aware of that. It's a real key. It's a situational awareness kind of thing that you really ought to understand. If you see a window ajar just slightly one side or the other, it should key you into what perhaps may be a threat. I'm not saying there might be somebody there. It might have just blew open. Who knows? But that's stuff you really need to be aware of. The lamination on the windows is a big way to eliminate them splintering. But it's pretty expensive. It really is. The window issue is a real weak point in your home. The reason that the windows are not used more as far as forced entry in a burglar situation is why? Because you can't get a big flat screen TV out of the window. It makes it harder for that. That's why it's not used as much. So don't be disillusioned if a guy just wanted to perpetrate your house. He could use a window pretty easily. Landscaping. Familiarize yourself with your house. I mean, oh yeah, I mow the lawn, I know what's going on there, but do you understand visually what you see from behind the tree? Do you understand visually what those bushes in front are creating? Those cute little bushes that are in the front of your house, do you realize what a great camouflage, what a great hiding place that is for somebody? I mean, they can lay there for hours waiting for something to move or people to leave or just for surveillance of your house. It's really important. A great way to do that is if you want to, if you're realizing that could be a threat, you just tear them out of there and put in thorns. Put a nice rose bush in there. Put something that isn't an evergreen, soft type of needle. The thorns are a great way to do that. Also, light it. Get it lit. Okay. Now, next.
The motion-activated lights are really
Oh,
great.
yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. The security lights. Security lights are wonderful.
My
Oh, yeah.
timer's saying
It's
the
your
time is
phone
up.
this time.
And we're only a couple minutes away, so hurry, we can be done. On
Be
this
done?
section.
Oh, on this section. Oh, okay, okay, good. Is that the security lights are very valuable. They can make a lot of noise. They can come on. Motion detector lights can light up areas that are really needed to be lit up, like your front entries and different things like that. They won't work if the power's out. That's kind of tough. I just saw at Costco, they've got a $50 solar panel for a security light. I thought that'd be a great idea. All right, so that's a good thing. Lights. Oh, another thing that I want you to do, as far as your situational awareness goes around your home, is the next time the power's out, get outside and see what your house looks like. Okay? When there is no street light, when there is nothing around, go out and check it out. Check out what the views are like in the different areas of your home. And I don't want just Bubba to do it. I want every one of you. I want the kids to do it, everybody to do it, to get an idea of what your surroundings are. Get familiar with that. That is so important.
Really something that everybody that was on our small group commented on, how beneficial it was to actually do a security shift through the middle of the night.
Oh, that's right.
And to be outside, walk around the perimeter of the house and other people's houses in the dark. And then just being aware of how much light, street lights actually, shine on certain parts of the house that are clearly going to make it hard for somebody to hide out there, but other areas that were really, great hiding spots. And it just kind of helped all of us to know, hey, we might want to install one of those motion lights over here, or, that kind of thing. So that's, Scott's point is really good on that as far as securing the perimeter of your home.
Okay, a couple other things in this section, okay, is that we need to have, and it's very important that you have an illusion of security. I don't care if you feel weak and you're really not there, it is time to buff up and have an illusion of security. Now, how do you create that? If you're a single mom and don't have somebody to watch over you or a man in the house, a great way to do that is create an illusion. Is get some, go to the thrift store and get yourself some size 14 army boots and set them out by the door. Okay, that's an illusion of security. Okay, another great one is get a sign that says "Beware of dog." Okay, we have one on our front one and our back one, and I'm the dog. We don't have a dog. Okay? So it's really important that you create a feeling and a sense of, and giving them an illusion of security. Another very valuable one, even though you may be in a power outage, is the signage for burglar alarms, okay? For the sirens and all those different things. Those help deter, and the police will tell you that too.
Fake video cameras.
The fake cameras.
Mounted up above a door, or, those, we have a few friends that actually have invested in those. You can buy them really cheap. They're just fake empty shells of cameras, and mounted them up above the garage doors, kind of in an area around the front door. And the police officer that shared with us at our neighborhood watch group said that was one of the biggest deterrents, was the beware of dog signs, the illusion of occupancy, and the fake cameras. So we've done all three of those.